Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface with an emergency edition of AzChats. We've had quite a few recently. I think that sates a lot of people's AzChats appetites, but we've got another one and it's had to come. Now then, if you're new to AzChats and what it involves, these are more podcasty type of videos as opposed to visual videos, although I do try and put some visual feasts for your eyes now. But because this is an emergency one, as of recording, I do not yet know whether or not there will just be a nice image for you to look at. If there is, I might make it a duck. Or whether or not I manage to put together some sort of video compilation that will allow you to remain seated and view stuff as well as listening to me. But people who are au fait and have lots of AzChats knowledge will know by now that you can simply crank up the volume in the background. Go and do stuff. Go and do the house cleaning. House cleaning? Yeah, clean the house. Not the inside and the outside. I want you climbing walls. Please, if you do that, wear the necessary safety equipment and scrub those bricks. You know? But just have the volume up in the background so you can hear me. You'll get just as much out of this video orally as you will audibly, which makes no sense, and I don't care because I was meant to say audibly and then visually, but I just had an oral fixation for a second. Sue me, whatever. And as always, AzChats may involve colourful language, so if you are upset or if you are offended by such language, then I'm really fucking sorry. But that's just how it goes down. Sometimes it might just slip out. Sometimes it is kind of forced in. But, whatever. Now then, the topic for today's AzChats is one that's kind of frustrated me. And it's not Blizzard that has frustrated me. It's actually the WoW community that has frustrated me. Or a certain segment in particular. Now, this is going to physically take over a video I had planned. In an actual fact, a video that I was working really hard on because it involved a lot of editing to get it into place. But now it's all going to go down the shitter because of the reason of this AzChats, which we'll get to in a second. Don't worry. I have had to cancel that video and pretty much say what the video was going to be in this AzChats. So all the pretty video editing that was going to go along with it is no longer going to happen. And that upsets me. So, what is the point of today's AzChat? Well, there is currently a post, and I don't want to give this person too much exposure because I am of the mindset that this person is a legitimate troll. But there is a post going around the US forums which has unfortunately taken up a lot of attention from people, and it's brought the developers into the thread, and they're trying to argue the toss in the thread, and to be honest with you, they're kind of almost fighting a losing battle, because they now have a revved up, incensed community that is unfortunately revved up and incensed on bullshit. Because the thread itself is 90% full of shit. Now, the thread is called, and I want to get the exact title right, Not Looking Forward to WoD Anymore. And in this thread, this person literally bullet points loads of different reasons why they're no longer looking forward to Warlords of Draenor. I think there's about 20 of them in total. And sadly, the reasons that they give, they are trying to base on fact. And I'm using air quotes when I say the word fact, because they're trying to come from a position as to say, Blizz have changed this, they've changed that, they've changed the other. And I'll give you some examples now. So they've said things like, average class goes from 40 spells down to 7. There's no flying. There are less dungeons than Cataclysm had. Almost all CC's been removed in PvP and totally removed in PvE. Things like this. Now, the vast majority of what this person puts here is utter shit. It's bullshit. It has no factual ground whatsoever. It's not actually true. It's called a lie. This is why I think this post is a legitimate troll. I think this person has purposely created this false information to stir up the community. And that's what a genuine troll is. Not somebody that posts, oh, fuck your mum. You know, that's not a troll. That's just a fucking teenage boy who's probably never going to have sex in his life. You know, so this is a person who I think has created a post with the pretension of winding up the WoW community, feeding them misinformation and putting them into a foaming sense of rage, which unfortunately it has. Now, this angers me for a couple of reasons. The first reason is people like myself, when I create my critique videos, I am very purposeful about what I'm critiquing, and I support my argument. I'm not saying you have to agree with my argument, but I will always support my argument. For instance, recently about the faction hubs, the faction hub changes. We had Temple of Caribor and Bladespire Fortress for the Horde and the Alliance. They've been cut as the faction hubs, and they've been removed. Not removed from the game, they're still there, but removed as faction hubs. And these faction hubs now have been created on the instanced Isle of Ashran. Now, to me, that doesn't make a lot of logical sense. First of all, we have beautiful cities that are now gone, that we can't use. Secondly, the new faction hubs are going to look like Garrisons 2.0, and I think that's going to diminish a lot of people's experience about garrisons, because you're going to be building up this garrison, and a lot of your interaction is going to be jumping between the faction hub and your garrison, and you're literally going to see Garrison 1.0, Garrison 2.0, Garrison 1.0, Garrison 2.0, and that's going to be visually very boring for the player. It's always nice when you leave one area and you go to another area to have something that's aesthetically different, massively aesthetically different, because it just changes your mindset. It changes everything about you. Also, from a lore point of view, it makes no freaking sense. We've just arrived on Draenor, we're attacking the Iron Horde, or we're trying to build up a force to attack the Iron Horde, so what do? We instantly go off Draenor, create bases right next to our opposing faction, 3 foot away, because the island's so small, and build them from there? Makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. So clearly it was to force world PvP. And the second reason is I feel sorry for the developers. Because when we have a critique, like I've just mentioned, this is going to diminish our critique. So let's bring the developers in now. So the developers unfortunately have to take time out to answer shit like this. Because it's just not true. So that's a couple of reasons why. Kind of people that critique and have genuine legitimate reasons for critique, their points of view are most likely going to start getting less and less looked at, because developers are going to start to develop tunnel vision, because it's going to be like, the fucking whole community's full of fucking shit, fuck it, fuck them, let's just get on with what we've got planned, fuck it. That's how it's going to go. Lots of fucks. There are lots of fucks given here, I promise you. So this person has created this thread full of absolute horse shit, and just a few little bits of information, a few little snippets here and there are actually true. Just a few though. 90% bullshit, but a couple of them are actually correct. And the reason why somebody would do that, or a troll would do that, is because it then validates a couple of their points, and people will latch on to the points that it validates, because developers will go, well, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, and people go, yeah, but that is true. And suddenly this 90% bullshit thread gets validation, because people aren't caring anymore about all the shit that this person's wrote. They're only focusing on the couple of legit points, and they're probably more incensed about those legit points because of the whole nature of this thread. So I'm going to get onto the point about the video which I was going to create and was in the process of creating, which is now never going to happen. Never going to happen, because I've got to incorporate it into here. And this is legit. This is not me just making this up now, because in actual fact, I was on Skype last night to Nora, and I actually told Nora about this video. I said, I've got this great video plan. It's this. And I even reeled out my points to her about what was going to go in the video. And this video, and I know you can't see this, but this is my research paper. Here, it was going to be called the top 5 flip-flops of Warlord of Draenor. That's what the video is going to be called. I even got a title for it. And if you don't know what a flip-flop is, a flip-flop is where you turn back on a decision that you've made. You make a decision, you flip-flop. You turn it over. You go a different direction. And I have 5 points here. Well, I've actually got 6. I was culling it down to 5, but I've actually got 6 points. And these are my points in question. Garrison locations. When BlizzCon happened last year, Blizzard said that you can position your garrison in any of the zones. That's now gone. Your garrisons can only appear in one zone now, which is Frostfire Ridge for the Horde and Shadowmoon Valley for the Alliance. Your starting zones. That's the only place that you can now have your garrisons. So we can no longer put them in Nagrand, in Gorgrond, in Spires of Iraq, in Talador, in Tanan Jungle. They can't go there anymore. So, and I think that's a massive shame. I think that's a massive, massive shame. And I was going to start discussing the fact that, obviously, with garrisons in the identical place for everybody, you're going to have, and it's all phased, of course, of people going, whoa, I'm going to have all the garrisons there. It's in the exact location, you just phase into it. You phase into the location. So it doesn't matter if you're a garrison level 1 or a garrison level 3, you still phase into that area. So you've suddenly got hundreds upon hundreds of people sat on each other's faces, which is causing, I think, quite a few problems on the beta at the moment, and I think is the legitimate and main reason why Blizzard actually moved the capital cities out of Shadowmoon Valley and Frostfire Ridge and shifted it across to Ashran. Because I think they were thinking, oh, Jesus H. Christ, we have got hundreds of people sat on each other's faces looking like a Roman orgy in one part of this zone, and in the other part of the zone, we've got hundreds more people in the capital cities. That zone's just going to go, whoa. Remember Undasta? What's my name? Undasta. But remember Undasta when it first came out in patch 5.2, and we were all going over to the Isle, and we were just crashing servers. We were just crashing servers because so many people were turning up. Because Undasta was such a tricky, hard fight when it first came out. You literally needed 3 full raid groups. So literally there were hundreds of people on Isle of Giants, and servers were just getting annihilated, and they were falling down, and the lag was crazy. And I think this is the legitimate reason why they've moved Frostfire Ridge and Spire Fortress hubs away from that area. I think they're trying to dramatically reduce the number of people that will be in the zone. So that was that. Another reason I brought in was the capital cities. Remember, in BlizzCon, they actually had this whole presentation. Chris did this whole presentation on discussing Temple of Caribor and Bladespire Fortress, and then said, and then these are going to become your capital city hubs. And then, of course, we had stupid tweets from Blizz saying, well, that was never actually intended. Yes, it was fucking intended. It was in BlizzCon, in a video that hundreds of thousands of people, probably millions, watched. So don't fucking tell us it was never intended, you idiot. That's when a developer annoys me, when they just flat out lie to your face. I then had Tanan Jungle, not available for patch 6.0. Again, in BlizzCon, it was touted there'd be 7 zones in a PvP zone. And remember, when Blizzard are doing their thing, it always, or the vast majority of it, is about what's going to be your 6.0 content. Because they're not, previous or future patches are always going to be in a state of flux. They might have plans, but they might get scuppered. We've seen it in Cataclysm with raids getting scuppered. The Abyssal Maw, whatever, getting scuppered. That was going to be, but then they decided to go for Firelands and Firelands only. They didn't think the two were going to marry together particularly well. So, and we ended up just getting Firelands, which was, 7 bosses? And that was it. Not massively impressive. Firelands is great, don't get me wrong. I think Firelands is freaking wonderful. But, it's not very impressive when a whole patch only has 7 raid bosses, and then, what do you do then? And all this, I don't believe in all this talk of, well, if you haven't killed it on heroic, then you haven't done it properly. No, fuck you. No, because doing the same bosses and different difficulty levels for me isn't new content. It's just doing the same content on different difficulty levels. That's why you have to have such a diversity of content in patches. You can't bottleneck your content and say, well, this patch is a raid. Well, yeah. But you do it on LFR, and then you do it on normal, then you do it on heroic, and now you do it on mythic, and you're just doing the same fucking bosses. They're just in different difficulties. Not new content. Once you've done it in LFR, it's done. That's why LFR's fucked up raiding. Because the vast majority of people that have done a raid in LFR now are just like, why should I go in a guild? Why? Why should I go in a guild and raid? I've already seen the content. You see, so that kind of thing there. I also got the no flying flip-flop. I'm a massive believer in no flying for Warlords of Draenor. These zones are absolutely gorgeous. They look fantastic. The art department have just done an overwhelmingly, massively spectacular job of these zones. But now, the original plan was flying was going to be brought in patch 6.1. As a quest, some sort of quest chain. They said some kind of grandiose quest chain, and at the end of this quest chain, you would get your flying. Now, having been on Draenor now, having experienced Draenor, I think Draenor itself, Warlords of Draenor, will be a better expansion for not being able to fly. I really do. I think it will make the expansion much, much better. I think it will help PvP as well, even though I'm not massive into... I used to be massive into PvP, I'm not anymore, but I think it will, to some degree, help PvP. Will PvP at least, because at least you can see things coming and not swooping down for a gank. I also think it makes the world feel bigger, and I also think it encourages legitimate exploration. So I think there is lots of good reasons why. And then Blizzard said, which I was happy with, we now have no current plans to bring in flying. Although it may come in, we've got no current plans, and it was certainly alluded. I never hold Blizzard's promises, because I never believe they make promises, because they change things so often. I think they like it when people say, you promised, and they always go, nah, 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 we never promised, no. We said, maybe. You know, they've always got that sort of thing going on. So I never say Blizz promise, but they certainly heavily alluded to the fact that they were toying with the idea of no flying in Warlords. I think the vast majority of the WoW base would be behind them on this. And I wouldn't mind seeing flying come in on the very final patch or something like that when it didn't really matter all that much. But now they flip-flopped again and have said, well, no, we still think the current plans is 6.1 for flying, and it's just like, for fuck's sake. Because I think 6.0 is going to be great, and I think as soon as you bring flying in, it's going to have I just think it's going to have a horrible effect on the game. I really do. It's going to make the whole world feel too small again. It's going to screw up everything that's been screwed up with PvP again. And I just don't think it's necessary. I really don't think it's necessary. Sure, it's brought in Burning Crusade, and I know that you've changed a lot of other areas to incorporate flying, but there is no reason why you just can't hold to your guns on this one and just say, look, you can fly in Pandaria, you can fly in Outland, you can fly in Azeroth, but there is just no flying in Warlords of Draenor. Is that such a bad thing? No, it's not. In my eyes it isn't anyway. There we go. I then also have things like Twitter communication meltdown, which isn't a flip-flop per se, so, you know, this is why I'm sort of like toying with stuff. And I do have the tabard and heirloom tab delay, which I just don't understand. I really do not understand. There's the new toy tab on the Warlords of Draenor beta. The toy tab is where, you know, you find a toy, instead of cluttering up your inventory, it now goes into the toy tab. Well, the toy tab's not working. It is there in the game, but it's not working. It's never worked. It hasn't worked since day one, and it still doesn't work now. A few months later in the testing game. But they were going to bring in a tab that was going to house your heirloom items and your tabards, which I was looking forward to. I know I'm not saying it's going to like alter my decision to play or not play WoW, because that would just be fucking stupid. But I was looking forward to it because there are certain tabards that I want to share with my alts. And that was a legitimate reason. And also it just makes it easier for the heirlooms and stuff like that. But the tabard and heirloom tab has now been delayed. That's all we've got. Delayed. Don't know when it's coming in. 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4. I'd say 6.5, but let's face it, it'll probably go to 6.3 and then we won't have any content for 12 months. But you get my... You know, so it was going to be a video where I could do like a sort of tongue-in-cheek thing about these are legitimate things which have happened. Those 5 reasons are legitimate reasons. Legitimate things which have been flip-flopped since BlizzCon. And the post in question is just full of lies. absolutely full of lies, which is now taking up developers' time to start answering questions and to start dealing with an incensed community that now no longer knows right from wrong. And as we all know, with this WoW community, they only need an excuse, or a hint of an excuse, or a sniff of an excuse to start jumping all over Blizzard's asshole. So it really affects legitimate concerns, because now when people have legitimate concerns, are the developers really going to pay them credence, or are the developers going to get themselves these blinkers and say, well, fuck them all. Well, let's just do what we had planned. Fuck them all. So when we have things like the faction hub concern, which we're not going to win that battle, but we have to, I'm a great believer that we have to make sure Blizzard knows we're not happy. You can tell us that it's not going to change, and we're going to tell you we're not fucking happy with it. And things like flying, trying to get Blizzard to change their mind on flying and things like this. Don't be dissuaded by a few crybabies. I want to fly everywhere. Because these are the people that probably want to fucking swoop down and gank half the time. The flight paths are really quick in Draenor now. Really quick. They just have to link them up right. They're again stupidly linked up in half the cases. You're missing one flight path. For some reason it's not taking you somewhere. Oh yeah, you can't link onto that. You know, just stupid things like this. And which all they have to do is just program the fucking flight paths better, for God's sake. You know, if I want to go from here to Shatrath, let me just fucking fly from here to Shatrath. Don't take me on a guided tour. But they are a lot quicker. Irregardless, they are a lot quicker. So just legitimate concerns that the community have about devices which have been changed in the game may now not quite have that voice that was intended. You never know. This could be a developer that's done his post. Wind up the community and then let the other developers just get on with it. You know, stuff like this. But when you've got absolute unbelievable bullshit like talent trees automatically filling in, what? No. The total removal of CC in PvE, that's not the case. You can use CC in PvE. In actual fact, when we were doing the Shadow Moon Valley Burial Ground, it was essential that we used PvP. CC in the PvE dungeon. Essential. Otherwise, we would probably wiped. It probably gives an indication that the dungeon itself was not quite tuned properly, but that's by the by. But CC is still in the game in some form. Yes, it's been dramatically reduced, but that's only a good thing. If there was one complaint that we had about PvP, it was definitely the overabundance of CC. Just the constant lockout, the inability to fight back is the most frustrating thing for me in PvP. Because to me, PvP is about fucking fighting. Not about tanks tanking. Not about healers fucking healing. It's about PvPers fighting each other. So CC removal, or dramatic removal of CC, is a good thing. And I've fought on Ashran, and trust me, there is still plenty of CC to lock you out for almost the duration of a kill. So I'm maybe of the opinion it quite hasn't been harsh enough. I'm of the opinion that every single form of CC, every single one, should share a DR with each other. I am of that belief. So you get 3 forms of CC to fuck your opponent up, and if you don't do it in that time, well, tough shit. They're going to have to fight you, and you're going to have to fight them. So that's kind of like my stance on things like this. But things like less raid content than any other patch. We've got 17 raid bosses from pretty much day one of Warlords of Draenor. That's more than we had in the previous one. That's definitely more than we had in Mists of Pandaria and stuff. You know? So there's plenty of other stuff to be getting at. Bullshit about 2D. The reason why they got rid of flying and is because of 2D graphics in places, which is not the case at all. Everything is 3D graphics. Warlords of Draenor itself has been built with flying in mind. It has been completely constructed with flying in mind. People saying that they've just simply used the template of Outland and then reskinned it, which is not the case either. Draenor itself is larger than Outland and has been constructed from the ground up. That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. The zones are bigger. There is no denying that. They are bigger. They look fantastic. They have completely different undulations. It's not a reskin. So posts like this just hurt the community because it feeds misinformation and it feeds mistrust. Yes, we absolutely should call out Blizzard as a community when they do something wrong. No, we should not go about it by bullshit and lies. It's not fair on them. They've got a tough job. They have got a tough job. They've got 7.5 million foaming mouths desperate for a good expansion because Mist was fucking shit and Kata was not very good, shall we say. The last expansion that we can look back really and go, and masturbate about was Wrath of the Lich King. That was the last good expansion that we had. There were so many mistakes made in Kata, and Mist was a fucking clusterfuck. Absolute clusterfuck with some terrible decisions made. We are desperate for a great expansion to come out here, and me, myself, I will critique to try and make it better. Not for personal glory, not to be pedantic, not to be nitpicky. When I bring up a concern, it's because I want this expansion to be great. I'm desperate for this expansion to be great because I want to play it and enjoy it, and I want other people to play it and enjoy it, and I really want people to turn around and go, Warlords of Draenor, that X-Pack was freaking brilliant. That's what I legitimately want. Love WoW, hate Mists. It's not a very difficult thing to understand. So yes, I will pick out certain things, but it's only because I want the game to be better. I think the game would be better served with capital cities in Temple of Karabor and Bladespire Fortress. I think the game would be better served for no flying. I think the game would be better served if PvP had some significant adjustments like sharing DRs, which will allow for more fighting. Because that's what PvP is about. Player versus player fighting. Plenty of raids to get on with. A few dungeons, but we all know that dungeons have been tweaked because we've had the introduction of scenarios and we've also had the introduction, badly for me, sadly and badly for me, of LFR, which I could just see we're doing out of the game completely. But it seems to cater for a specific audience set, and I can't argue that it's unfair to have a specific audience set. I just think it's detrimental to the game. So I'm looking at it from an altruistic point of view, shall we say. But this thread, which has got the devs in answering these questions, dealing with people foaming at the mouth, just hurts the game. It doesn't help the game. Making shit up doesn't help the game. Just hurts the game. And it's sad when people who don't know any different will read and they'll take what this person said as gospel when it's as far from gospel as you can possibly get. It's full of shit. So my top 5 flip-flops video is now never going to get made. I've given the reasons why I did, what reasons in this video. But firstly, I don't want to do it because I've just relayed what's going to happen. And secondly, I don't want to do it because I don't want to stoke any fire. I don't want to stoke any fire. It was going to be a tongue-in-cheek, come on Blizz, you flip-flopped over these things, adjust others type of a video. A little bit of a slap in the ass, you know what I mean? But now I don't want to stoke this hate wagon which seems to be rolling in. And a lot of it is unjustified. There's still probably a lot of time until Warlords of Draenor is going to be released. Well, I'd hope so, because I don't think it's anywhere near ready. But yes, we are seeing a lot of compromises being made because they're trying to get the game into a position where it is going to release. Does it mean that those things are never going to happen? I hope not. They could come in hotfixes, they could come in later patches. But bullshit doesn't come in later content, and bullshit doesn't come in later patches because they are simply bullshit. They don't exist. They are not true. So this post that had about 90% full of shit and about 10% of, when I say legitimate, reasons which actually had happened and had changed, you're only hurting yourself. You're not making WoW any better. You're not making Warlords of Draenor any better. You're hurting the community. You're hurting yourself. And it's just not good. It's not good. So legitimate criticisms, I would say, guys, if you want legitimate criticisms, And if you want to know what's really going on, watch channels like this. Watch DD. Watch Wow Hobbsy. You know, Fat Boss. Watch people that actually, you know, have an intelligent brain when discussing WoW. And people that don't make up sensational bullshit so people will come in and view their thread. Where we come from is always a place of critique to try to make the game better because we love the World of Warcraft. Not because we want to see it destroyed, not because we want to get extra views, not because we want to incense the community. It's purely from a point of view is we want to make the game better. So if you're unsure of anything, talk to us. Talk to us. Or talk to the devs. But make a constructed, concise, non-aggressive post when doing it. Hey Blizz, is it true that this is going to happen? Or not going to happen? Just do it like that. My point of view is I'd hope not, or I'd like to see it, whichever it is. Or as DD, Hobbsy, is it true that this is coming in? Tweet us. We'll probably answer you back. But just don't fall for the trap. It's a trap! Don't fall for the trap of bullshit. There's going to be a lot of good stuff in Warlords of Draenor, and there is a lot of good stuff in Warlords of Draenor, and it has the potential to get even better. That, just believe. Hashtag believe. It can do. And don't fall for the bullshit. It's bad enough falling for the hype. Never mind going for the bullshit. But there we go. I hope you enjoyed this emergency. Emergency AzChats. If you have, please do give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my YowChow channel and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and twitch.tv/HeelvsBabyface for live Warlords of Draenor streaming, where I will tell you what is what. And I will be back with some more stuff very soon. So you take care, everybody. Bye-bye.